I mean, I've had sugar babies give me like a nice little coffee mug, bake me these cookies, and those things cost like nothing. You know, and oftentimes this girl, she did it, just cooked it herself, baked it herself, but it makes the man feel cared for. And the man, assuming he's a good guy, would want to reciprocate. And when the man does reciprocate, it is going to be like 50-fold for the girl. So it's a little bit of investment that would pay massive dividends for you.
Welcome to Secrets of a Sugar Daddy. Here's your host, Marcus.
Welcome to another episode of Secrets of a Sugar Daddy, the #1 sugar dating podcast in the world, where we pull back the curtains on the good and the bad. And Lily,
the shocking.
I'm shocked, but you're right. The shocking stories.
I like to be unpredictable.
Of sugar dating.
Unpredictable.
You do that to me sometimes. I never know where we're going. So Lily and I had a lot of fun yesterday. We went to the Phoenix Open.
Yes.
Did you see any sugar babies and sugar daddies out there?
So many.
So many, yeah. Well, let's go ahead and plug our party really quick because that was a huge party. We're also having a big party in June. Now, the weather in Arizona in February is absolutely amazing. It'll be a little hot in June, but you're not going to want to miss Sugarpalooza 6. Shakira is bringing the heat. And we have a private suite for her concert. So if you have not applied yet and you want to come, go to our website, secretsofasugardaddy.com. Go to the party tab. All the details are on there. I mean, we got housing is provided. We got parties are provided, transportation to and from the arena. Like I said, a private suite to see Shakira. Food and beverages are all included. It's absolutely amazing. Then we'll have a brunch the next day, send you back to where you came from, with memories like you've never had before. Right, Lily?
Yes. We'll call them memories.
Yeah, we'll call those memories. Anyway, it's a lot of fun. Now, if you're a Patreon member, you're going to get priority judging. And even if you're not coming to the party, we'd love to have you join Patreon. That is our fan club page. It's a lot of fun. I post so much stuff on there. Lily posts a lot of things on there. The community chat is great. You can direct messages. I think you were on there this morning, weren't you? Answering messages? Or
I was.
Yeah. Direct
Absolutely.
messages to people, have questions and comments, and we do coaching and profile reviews. So all that starts at $10 a month, and it goes up from there, but depending on what you want. We even have a free option. I throw a lot of free stuff on there. It's a little teaser stuff, kind of get you an idea of what's going on. But even if you want to be a free member, we'd love to have you.
Regarding the party.
Yes.
I started solidifying the list, and we are running out of slots. So
I know. It's filling up fast. We only have 40 this year.
you might want to scramble and get your application in if you're a sugar baby, and you might want to message me ASAP if you're a sugar daddy who wants to sponsor.
Yeah, we're definitely looking for more sugar daddies. You can contact us at info@secretsofasugardaddy.com or message us on Patreon, Instagram. There's lots of ways to get a hold of us, but we want to hear from you ASAP. Spots are filling up quickly. You're not going to want to miss this. Matter of fact, we have 2 gentlemen. This is a first, right? 2 sugar daddies in the house at one time.
I think if we'd ever done 2 sugar daddies at once, and I think no.
Yeah. And I guess including me, that would make 3. Right?
I'm surrounded by sugar daddies.
Both of these guys have experienced a Sugarpalooza or 2 or 3. So welcome, Jay and Podcast Fanboy. That was a surprise you were coming, Podcast Fanboy.
Yes.
I wasn't expecting this.
Last minute invitation from Lily.
You're always welcome here.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's always a good time.
And then Jay. So Jay had a really good episode that recently came out. I got a lot of comments about some of the dating advice and some of the success advice that you gave. What'd you think of that episode?
Were they positive or no?
Oh, no. It was absolutely great. Matter of fact, one of my favorite parts of your episode was how you advised sugar babies to become relevant and to make yourself essential to the sugar daddy, not just a siphon, just sucking all the money away from him without providing anything.
Absolutely.
And the more essential you make yourselves, the more valuable you make yourselves, the more that sugar daddy wants and needs you around him, and you'll find consistency there. I love that advice.
Yeah, I think if Sugar Baby is looking for somebody consistent, odds are that man is going to have a lot of options. So therefore, he is in a position to compare his options between one another. So that is the way that you can stand out. Obviously, if you're dealing with a guy that's like staying in his mom's basement or something that doesn't have any options, then you don't really need to put forth that effort. But I think the operating premise is that the man has options, so therefore you need to stand out from the competition.
Yeah.
And be the best option.
And be the best option, exactly.
And I get messages from women all the time on Instagram a lot and Patreon. They're getting frustrated and they want consistency and they're not finding really what they want. Well, I think your episode gave a lot of great advice to getting what they want. I think it was like episode 187 or something, wasn't it?
I think so.
I believe, though. Anyway, we're going to get more into this, but before we get going, Jay got to experience the Phoenix Open, the biggest party in the world during February. What were your thoughts of that crazy thing?
I need to learn how to play golf ASAP.
You just attend a golf event where the party is happening.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, I've learned that only 10% of the people there are actually golf enthusiasts. So
Did we even see any golf?
I didn't.
No,
I was too
didn't.
distracted.
There's probably 10% of the people even know there's a golf tournament going on.
Right?
What sport is this?
So Podcast Fanboy last year, unfortunately, he flew somebody all the way from London over to experience the amazing Phoenix Open, and we had the shittiest weather we've ever had. It was so bad.
It was awful. It was so cold.
Yeah.
And it was raining. There was a flood in the suites.
Right.
Your feet were wet. And then the transportation system was all screwed up, so we had to stand for 2 hours waiting to get a car to leave the place, freezing the whole time.
Yeah.
Now, I will say this. The poor lady that came over from London, you all know her very well.
Victoria.
Victoria. She was a great sport.
Yeah.
And her esteem just raised in my eyes so much because of the way she took that, because I was in a bad mood and it was awful, and she didn't grumble once.
Well,
So,
she's from London.
That's true.
That's normal.
Good point. Good point.
She's like, what? This is average everyday weather for us this time of year.
Good point.
Yeah. So what else did you take from that event, Jay? I mean, it was your first time. Podcast Fanboy's been a few times, so he knew what to expect.
Well, I'm definitely getting tickets for it next year. I mean, the people watching was literally among the best that I've ever seen. Just the different couples that got paired up. And yeah, it was very, very interesting. I mean, this is the sugar capital.
Now, we also got to see $2.
That's right.
He came in from Chicago. He was in one of the suites.
Yeah, he I think enjoyed it too compared to Chicago weather right now. I think it's like 10 degrees there.
Yeah. So, Lily, what were your thoughts? You've been now a couple times.
Yeah, this was my third time. The first time was similar to yesterday in that the weather was beautiful. We were in an opulent suite with the food and drinks flowing, and the food was delicious. Mm-hmm. Everything was really tasty. It's fun seeing the flamboyant outfits that some people wear, the sexy outfits that some people wear, and just the straight up crazy outfits that some people wear.
Yeah.
We got pictures with a Oompa Loompa in a Speedo.
Oh, you know what?
Thing.
We need to throw that on Patreon.
I will.
So blur out some faces.
Yeah.
There was the funniest thing. They pay this guy. He's from San Diego. His name Leaf, like Leaf Garrett. And is what he told me. And he dressed up as an Oompa Loompa. And he was the right size as an Oompa Loompa.
Was he that little guy in that one picture that you posted that had a complete costume?
Yeah.
Looked like a leprechaun.
Yeah,
kinda?
so whatever company has a suite, they paid for him to come there and entertain people. And he was the nicest guy.
Yeah, he was.
And
Very friendly.
yeah, so they have a great photo of the girls that we took with the Oompa Loompa. So we'll post that on Patreon for you paid members.
Yes.
You're going to want to see that. It's great.
No, it was fun. And we got to see our girl, Kimmy.
Oh, Kimmy was in town. So her
Yeah.
company, they have a suite, and we were able to talk to her and get caught up with her.
I should have got a photo with her
I
because
know.
that girl looks stunning.
Kimmy
She-
gets better and better and better.
Oh my gosh. She was so snatched. She's lost a lot of weight. She's been eating healthy, working out. Her hair looked gorgeous. She's just so pretty.
She's got a great mindset. She's
Yeah.
really been working on her mindset of positivity and associating herself with the right people. And it's a really amazing transformation that she's come through.
Yeah.
So
She's come a long way.
I'm so happy that we were able to meet her.
We're going to
Yeah.
birthday dinner with her on Monday.
Oh yeah, that's right. She's
Yeah.
just had a birthday.
She just had a
24th.
birthday.
But the big question is, she's still with her billionaire.
Lily,
She is,
but
for the most part. But I said, because she's thinking about moving back to Phoenix or back to Arizona. And I said, do it. Can you work with your company here? And she said, yeah, they actually would prefer me to work from here. And I said, well, just have your sugar daddy billionaire buy you a house. And apparently our billionaire does not have the cash flowage that he used to have, because she's like, well, he's working on that right now, making some money. So I don't know if he's
Interesting.
actually billionaire status right now. He's had some ups and downs financially.
Well, asset rich and cash poor is not an uncommon thing.
Probably, yeah.
that's pretty much where I'm at 24/7. Like,
Well, you're in the real estate business,
Yeah, I know.
primarily, so that's the name of the game.
She might have to buy her own house.
right.
Well, it's a lot cheaper here than Santa Monica.
Yeah. Jay's thinking of buying a house here.
Oh, yeah, because of that reason.
I want you to be in my neighborhood.
I would save $71K instantly if I'm an Arizona resident.
How? Taxes?
Taxes, yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Damn.
About.
I'll help you house hunt. And so will Marcus.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, we've already talked about that, and he sent me some properties that he's been looking at. So haven't viewed any yet, but we're starting the process.
Oh, yeah. Where Podcast Fanboy's place is amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He's
and
actually-
It's not far from Lily's.
he's not
Yeah.
far from Lily and Trucker.
Yeah, he's hosting me this week, which I really appreciate. I mean, what a stunning...
Have you never been over there before?
No, I haven't.
I've had the pleasure of coming over to his house a few times, and it's always nice.
Jay is a great guest, too.
Yeah.
He has access to everything in there, of course. He's a guest. He asks, he says, okay, well, which one of these coffee pods do you like the least? I'll drink that one.
Aw.
which yogurt do you like the least?
Right.
I'll eat that one. It's like, no, you can eat whatever you want, but that's just who he is. He's always being ultimate and polite.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I've had Jay as a guest at my house, too. And
As have I.
oh, there you go. There you go. Well, the hotels here were absolutely insane,
was
weren't they?
nuts.
Because we got the Phoenix Open, the Super Bowl is going on, and there's so much. Spring training is coming up here in Arizona. It's just a festive time of year.
Oh, yeah, it is the best time of year to be here compared to the rest of the country.
Yeah.
72 degrees.
You actually came here for many reasons, but one of them is there was some more things that you wanted to discuss about sugar dating.
Right. So I think I wanted to parlay on top of the previous episode that I did in terms of giving sugar babies more advice on
Well, they can use it.
Oh, yeah, and how to find something and maintaining something sustainable. Oftentimes the girls discussed among themselves, I mean, what does it take? What do I have to do? And I feel like just from my experience, because if you're somebody who has options, then you're in a position to compare the different options and figure out, or at least come to the conclusion of like, this is the best for me and this is not going to be so advantageous, long term. Based on that, I kind of came upon the idea of how to make it less expensive for the sugar daddy. So expensive is not only pertaining to the dollar amount spent, but expensive is also in terms of effort. So let's say that you have a sugar baby. I met somebody here at a party. He doesn't have a green card or have legal status here. And we met up a few times. We actually met up in LA, and I really enjoyed her company. And the challenging part was that she needed the legal status to be here. So just in terms of that example alone, I mean, I really wanted to see if anything would happen with her, but because of the fact that I would literally have to marry her in order for her to stay, just even progress and see how things would go. That in itself is a very expensive proposition for the sugar daddy, obviously. I mean, that is probably the most expensive. You're giving away your optionality possibility of meeting somebody else. Now, unless you're meeting somebody that is absolutely head and above anybody else you've ever met in your life, then that is a worthwhile pursuit. But until you know that, you don't really want to take that road. That's one example where, as a sugar baby, you try to create a situation where it's not so much of a price tag to get in terms of getting into the realm of the sugar daddy. Because that's kind of parlaying onto what I said earlier in the last episode. What you want to be able to do is to work yourself into that man's life so that you become indispensable and he can't really get rid of you as easily because you're adding value to his life, but also you don't, at least on the front end, create so many barriers for him to develop this longer term view of how he's going to be able to be with you. You know, instead of obviously like a one night thing, for the most part, it's easier for the guy and for the woman to have something that's a little bit longer term, because nobody wants to reinvent the wheel every single 2 weeks. I mean, especially for the sugar baby, because they have more risk involved. So therefore, it's to the benefit of both sides.
You're listening to Secrets of a Sugar Daddy. Now back to the show with your host, Marcus.
I find that when I'm trying to select someone to start sugar dating, if they're playing hard to get, this is not the venue to play hard to get.
No. Absolutely.
Right? You might want to do that in some other setting, but if you're sugar dating, you've got to be actually a little bit more on the aggressive side, because, quote unquote, the man is the prize.
Yes.
Right? And you might be a beautiful stunner and think you have your shit together, but if you make it so difficult for a man to be able to date you, they're going to move on.
Absolutely. I think also it comes from the premise that the man has options. So if a girl is willing to do things, I would say maybe sexually, that he's never experienced before or other people wouldn't be up for doing, and this person is wanting to try things to accommodate, I mean, that makes you way more competitive. And I think the withholding sex idea maybe works in the vanilla world where the man doesn't really have as many options. Then you're trying to make yourself a little more valuable and in that sense. But if the man has options, if he's like dating 2 or 3 or 4 girls, and one girl is willing to do things that he's always dreamed of, and another girl is like, I'm going to make you wait about 4 or 5 dates. I mean, who is he going to choose, right? I mean, you're in the end looking for the best value for what you can get. It's just natural instinct. It's just, economics.
Yeah.
Podcast Fanboy, what are your thoughts here?
Well, I was just going to compliment Jay on what he said. That was very well said. This is the classic application of supply and demand in the dating world, right? In the vanilla dating world, for men, the women have the advantage. There's a bigger supply of men looking for vanilla dates than there are women. That script flips in the sugar world, and now there's more women looking for good sugar daddies than vice versa. So any man who has options and choices can afford to be pickier, afford to be more selective, and not, this is a little harsh, but put up with some of the demands that a woman might make. As Jay was getting at, she's kind of pricing or pushing herself out of the market from the beginning unless she is smart and makes herself indispensable to that man over time. And then, maybe she can start asking for a little bit more because she's so valuable to him then.
Absolutely.
That he's willing to pay that.
Right.
Absolutely.
Lily, what are your thoughts?
I agree. I don't think women in the sugar bowl should be so demanding. I know some of them think that they're 11s and 12s, and so they have the right to be completely demanding. And I don't think it works out that often for them. I mean, I could be wrong. I've never been a pushy or demanding woman, so it's hard for me to relate to that. I've never really felt entitled to anything. I've always felt like I want to give as much, if not more, than I'm getting back in a partnership or a relationship. I'm a big time giver. And so I don't know.
And there's your success formula.
Yeah, well, I can't relate to the girls that are just so entitled and demanding. It's hard for me to relate to that.
But I come across them all the time. Yeah. Jay does too. Podcast Fanboy knows exactly what we're dealing with. Yeah, there are some absolutely beautiful, gorgeous women online on Seeking, on the Sugar Daddy sites. But then they just make it so, and you're just like, I don't even want to deal with it. Yeah, she would be great to have on my arm, but I can't take it. I need somebody that's a little bit more down to earth, more understandable, more giving.
Yeah. And we've talked about this before, but the other side of that equation is don't be demanding, but also don't be too needy and desperate, because I would think that would be unattractive to a sugar daddy as well. Now, all of the men in this room, I know because I've observed and known them for many, many years now, are very super generous, and they love helping someone who truly needs help. But that does get old if it's constant, and they never take that help and do something to improve their lives or themselves so that they don't have to continue being desperate and needy.
Good point.
Yeah, I agree. It's if you see a girl that is investing herself, investing in her future, investing in being financially independent, that is a worthwhile place to invest in, literally like a company. So therefore, that is what you want to see, as opposed to somebody who is literally going to depend on every penny that you give them. It gets a little bit old. And oftentimes, because if you're coming with a guy that's generous and they don't have any other means of income, you end up giving way more than what they can give back. And then the ratio just becomes completely disproportionate. And then I've heard that transactions are invisible when everybody is happy. But when transactions are very tilted on one side, when a person is kind of on a short end of the stick, then they're going to notice that this is not a really fair, balanced dynamic.
That's where resentment comes
That's where
into
resentment
play.
comes in, exactly.
And disappointment.
So, Jay, here's a scenario I come across occasionally. It almost grinds me to a halt with this person that I'm interested in. So then when I ask them, so, what do you do for a living or whatever, they go, oh, this is what I do full time. You come across that?
Oh, yeah.
And how's it make you feel?
It makes me feel like I'm lost in the crowd and I'm not going to get the attention that I'm really looking for. And I'm not a needy guy. I don't need to be seeing somebody multiple times a week to have a good relationship with them. But every longer term sugar relationship that I've had, they weren't all exclusive. I mean, I certainly wasn't exclusive, so I wouldn't ask them to be exclusive either. But it wasn't like the only thing they did. There's another word for that that shall go unsaid, but it's not far from that, for sure.
Prostitution.
Yeah.
Jay, what are your thoughts?
Well, I've kind of given it some thought, and I think the sugar babies should kind of think of the Netflix model in terms of how they approach a guy they really want. So what Netflix does is that they make it really easy for you to start using them, which is they give you a free trial. You start to get addicted to certain shows, and then you watch whatever, half the series, and then your trial ends and you're forced to pay. But by that time, you're already very invested in Netflix or in that show. And I feel like it's a good thing if you can somehow use a little bit of, I don't want to say freebie because it comes off as like you're giving your farm away, but definitely make it easy so the guy can see you more often and derive the value that he feels that he can kind of envision with you in the future. Obviously the easier you're able to work your way in, and then before you know it, 3 weeks later, you're spending a lot of time together. And I don't want to say that men have no emotional investment in a certain person. If a man is spending a lot of time with a beautiful girl and you get along with her really, really well, you're going to care for her. You're going to be emotionally attached to her. And that's what you want. You want to get the emotional attachment so that he would feel generous to help you as a person, as opposed to, say, like one night situation where the guy could care less if he sees this girl again. I feel like if you can somehow figure a way to kind of make it less expensive to work your way in at the beginning, or maybe make yourself more available, then you kind of develop this emotional hook that will, I think, pay more dividends in the long term. I mean, as I know, like some of these girls that if I've known them for a year, I mean, the amount of money that I've spent on them is like, I don't even want to add it up, but it's definitely not compared to, say, somebody who comes to me and say, I want a $3,000 PPM right off the bat. They wouldn't even get that. So, it's not like I'm cheap and don't want to pay $3,000 up front, because these other girls have ended up getting way more, but it's how you kind of create this emotional bond with this person. It's what you need to do. And then once you do that, then it becomes the sugar baby's advantage, because then they have the attachment of the guy.
Yeah. I certainly understand when the girls, they are in it for a reason. They want to get into the financials very quickly. But this might be your experience too, but this is my experience. I seem to have spent more and been more generous for the few people that we never talked about money. Oddly enough, it's because they came into it with good intention. They provided me with what I was looking for, emotionally, sexually, just in the entire package. They played a good role, and I found myself becoming more generous than I ever thought I could be with somebody. If they would have come to me with that number up front, they would have never. We probably would have never got to the first date.
Non-starter. Exactly. Yeah. It was the same for me. Like, I'm thinking to myself, if you're charging $3,000 up front, what is it going to be like in 2 months? You know, like $10K a date, you know? So,
well, another thing Jay mentioned this morning is the parable of the golden goose, right? You know, you've got the golden goose, that is the sugar daddy, who will lay a nice, beautiful golden egg on a consistent basis. And as the sugar baby, you have to be comfortable with the size of that egg, but also be content with that egg. Also, to Lily's point about these extremely needy girls that are rushing at us with demands, that's like killing the golden goose. They want to kill it.
It really does.
And they want to dig out the 2 or 3 eggs that are building up in there for immediate gratification.
Exactly.
And that turns off most sugar daddies that I know. And it's horrible in the long term for the sugar baby that just wants a good, consistent relationship, consistent connection, and consistent financial support.
Yeah.
So
now, I know sugar babies are all looking for various things. I've been pretty active talking to people on site. I try to keep up with what's going on. Alejandra's not thrilled about it, but you know, she's out there too. But it's just so funny. Like, I had some girl message me, says, I'm in an open relationship. And I go, oh, well, I am too. And she goes, okay, well, my husband has to be a part of it and he has to watch everything. And I'm like, I'll pass. Yeah. Okay. So that's what you're looking for. But I thought maybe we had something a little bit in common, but no, I'm going to have Jay. What?
I would categorize that as being expensive. You know, you're putting barriers in front of you that makes it difficult for the sugar daddy to say yes to.
Well, it wasn't so much the expense. It's just, I wasn't comfortable with having her husband involved with everything.
that's the expense he's talking about.
Oh, that's the okay.
It's a
non-monetary expense. Yeah, I get you.
One thing that I've kind of noticed is that there is one sugar baby here that I've been spending time with for the last 3 or 4 weeks that I'm really excited about. I would say that oftentimes when a sugar daddy interacts with somebody new, they're paying attention. They might even have these tests that they're giving the girl in his own head, but he's not vocalizing it. So I've taken her shopping twice. So the first time she didn't buy a thing. And the second time she bought this $30 blouse. I'm saying to myself, you can get way more than that. But what it tells me is that the girl is not just kind of seeing me as just like an ATM.
Yeah.
Or just wanting to just max this out, smash and grab, get as much as you can while it still lasts. Because that doesn't make the man feel very good. Men get taken advantage of financially and women get taken advantage of sexually. So no man wants to feel that he is getting cleaned out. And so therefore, just these little things here and there that really makes me feel I want to be generous to her because she's not trying to take advantage of me and she sees me as more of a person, as an individual, as opposed to me just being another ATM card or wallet, as if like it doesn't matter which guy it is as long as they can charge a big whatever amount is on his Visa card. So I think some of these things that if you are aware in terms of what the guy is thinking, I think it's pretty important.
You're listening to Secrets of a Sugar Daddy. Now back to the show with your host, Marcus.
All right, so here's a scenario today. I want to get both of you guys' feedback on this. We're going to have her on the show. I was actually on her podcast a few years ago, and she has since joined Seeking. Okay, so she's messaged me on Instagram and said, hey, I'm a couple days old into this, and here's my problem. I need help financially right now, and these guys are offering me exotic vacations and these evenings out and concerts. And she goes, but I really need the cash right now. So how do I balance that? Because I don't want to take advantage of these people, but I don't know how to approach it. I can forego all that other stuff, but I'm really needing the financial help now. How would she go about that? Because I think she would make a great partner. She's a little bit older. She's well-spoken, intelligent. She really wants to do this correctly, but she doesn't need the exotic vacation.
What's the amount that she needs?
I don't know exactly.
I'm
probably guessing like 3 or 4 or 5,000.
Okay. This is more of an advice for a sugar daddy. This is not answering this girl's question because my experience is that when you do an advance up front, it is a very dangerous position for the sugar daddy because once the girl gets the money, he has absolutely no leverage. She literally can ghost him and then be done and then walk off. he would have had nothing. And I've learned just a hard way.
I was going to say, are we speaking from the world of Hard Knocks?
Oh, absolutely.
It's happened to
multiple
all of us.
times.
It's happened to
multiple
all of us.
times.
Yeah.
So therefore now it's like a very precarious position to be in when somebody wants a big amount up front. I have a girl that keeps saying she wants a car. I mean, it is just untenable, you know, because I can't really tell if you still be there. I think it's human nature too. It's like once you get what you want, you lose the motivation, you lose the focus. It's not even like they're trying to, you know, screw somebody over or be vindictive. You just lose the motivation to show up. I mean, can you imagine making everything you want for a job up front on January 1st? Like, would you still show up for work in July?
So, Marcus, is that what this woman is asking for? Something up front?
No, not so much up front. No, I think she's willing to go on the dates. You know, people categorize sex work as being prostitution. She goes, look, that doesn't bother me. I have no problem with the sexual part of it, but I just don't need the...
She doesn't need all the frills associated with sugar dating.
Because she can't pay her bills with exotic vacation.
I won't speak for Jay, but if I was in a situation with her, the best way she could approach that issue with me is just to be upfront and honest about it. But be polite and kind at the same time. Don't be dismissive of the nice things that I would like to do for her, the vacations, the dinners, the shows, whatnot.
Yeah.
But just say, hey, look, my priority right now in life is getting these financial issues taken care of. So if it worked for you, I'd be happy to, you know, have a normal sugar relationship with you, but could you maybe save some money on this trip and give it to me in terms of cash instead? And you can do it, you know, weekly. It wouldn't have to be all at once.
Yeah.
We can go to a less expensive place for dinner.
Or maybe offer to come over to his house and cook dinner.
Right. There's a lot of things you can do within the context of a sugar relationship that don't involve massively expensive wining and dining. I enjoy that part of it personally, but I would have no problem with a potential sugar baby coming to me and being direct about needing cash rather than activities.
I think we would all be okay with the honesty, right, Jay?
Absolutely. I feel like most of the sugar babies I have, it's more cash. I obviously would want to take them to a nice dinner, and it's more for them to enjoy. But at the same time, most sugar babies are more concerned about making sure they can pay rent, cover the car payment, and things that are more about sustaining life. And once you get those needs met, then you would want to do something more of like a vacation thing. You know, I feel like that's kind of more like the last 10%.
Lily, what would be your advice?
As a sugar baby, I think it's very dangerous coming in or coming off as needy and desperate. And for her to level with someone and say, hey, I'm kind of in a desperate position, I'm not able to pay my bills, to come out with that right away, I think is going to scare a lot of guys off and make them nervous about getting invested or involved with you, because you're just going to be a monetary drain unless you're doing something to fix your own problems. Nobody wants to have to fix your problems for the rest of your life. And I can equate it to a non-sugar situation. I'll just bring up, she has had monetary problems her whole entire life because she makes poor decisions. And I've helped her time and again. And if she would start taking my advice or boosting herself up once she's been helped, but that doesn't happen, the next thing you know, she's right back in dire financial straits. I think it's a little scary for a person who's trying to help you out financially to start investing in someone who begins from a place of desperation.
Yeah, it's a tricky road.
Why is she older and in such financial straits? Did she?
Well, I think she was.
Job?
Yeah, she was working, and then something didn't work out, so she got behind. And I'm assuming that's what it sounded like. We're gonna have her on the show. She's agreed to come on.
I think my advice to her would be, don't come across as desperate. Start meeting these sugar daddies. Find out what they need from you before you start hinting at what you kind of really need from them, and forge a relationship. Don't just start straight from the get-go saying, can you be my cash register? Because I just don't think that's going to go over. I feel very lucky that I've never come at sugaring from a point of financial desperation. Was I ever with lots of extra money at the end of a month? No. I mean, I kind of live paycheck to paycheck, but I could live paycheck to paycheck comfortably without feeling desperate. So I feel so terrible for the sugar babies who are coming in from desperate situations like that.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point of view, Lily. And I agree with you. When Marcus asked the question, I wasn't thinking of her necessarily being desperate, because yes, that will scare guys off. That vibe is the first thing that you're sensing. I was thinking more of somebody that would just at this point, because of certain financial needs in her life, would rather do cash as opposed to the activities or the events. Yeah, you do not want to give off a whiff of desperation under any circumstances.
I remember seeing one girl one time, and I gave her some cash, and she just blew up my phone for the next 6 months, multiple times a day, asking for money. And I just, it was unbelievable.
I hate that.
Well, also, I think it puts the sugar baby in a very vulnerable position, because if you're desperate for money, if you meet a guy that will take advantage of that, he will just negotiate you down to nothing, and you're giving away the farm for very little in return. Because if you really need any kind of money, he might like bargain you down to like 150. At least you feel like you're getting that. Because I've known of situations where girls were in that position because they were so in dire straits, and they ended up doing something that I wouldn't have been happy to do for very, very little.
We don't fault people for getting into that situation. Most of us have been in that situation, but you got to fake it. You can't come across that way. You got to keep it internal, that internally you're desperate as hell, but then you still got to keep your dignity and go forward.
And I guess my advice is, if you really do need a lump sum of cash, have a plan for how you're going to turn your situation around, and maybe explain that to the potential SD that, okay, here's where I'm at. This is why I'm here. It's temporary. I have a plan to turn it around, but this is what it's going to take to really help me lift myself up.
I would love that. I would absolutely understand it 100% if somebody came to me like that.
Yep.
Because I've been there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't just come in crying and desperate. Come in with a plan.
That's good advice right there.
And I think if you've had a longer term relationship with the SD, you know, I can imagine some of the people that I support, if I've known them for like a year and a half, I can do an advance with them because I trust them. Because they're not going to just disappear one night on me and one day on me. And I know that there is a longevity in terms of our dynamic.
You remember Dr. Charles when he first came on the show? I even put this in the teaser, but he said when he first started, he was so naive. And he's like, okay, I'm going to give these girls a monthly allowance of $4,000. That was his beginning monthly allowance. He goes, there's twice I gave girl $4,000 the first month and I never saw him again.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye. They just left.
Yep. Because there's no accountability, no leverage. You can't.
Yeah. It's a leap of faith on the sugar daddy's part if he's paying in advance.
It is. I mean, I've had situations where when somebody needed money very, very badly, and they would respond within 1 second of me responding back to them. And then once they got their money, it would literally take a week for them to respond to one text. I mean, it just lost all motivation.
Yeah. All right. Good advice. Here's another scenario I've kind of encountered lately. And certainly, Jay, if there's anything else that we want to hit before our show's over. But this is one that comes up because now we're on the other side of the spectrum, which I find also girls that are looking for love, and then they want you to become exclusive or become committed to them so quickly. And I know you guys have dealt with that too.
I would say it's more challenging for the sugar baby in this situation because the man has more options and more possibilities. And for the man to give up his optionality, that's a big price to pay. She would have to be amazing, like 12.
She'd have to be like a Russian princess named Natasha.
As Lily looks towards Podcast Fanboy.
No, that was going to be my comment exactly. If it had been anybody but her at that moment in my life, I would have continued doing the sugar daddy route that I had so much fun with for over a couple of years. Lots of variety, lots of wonderful connections and longer term relationships, and just downright fun.
Exactly.
But when this 12 walked into the restaurant that night and struck up a conversation with me, and I left that conversation realizing she kind of liked me, I might have a chance with her, everything else became secondary at that point. And I've given up a lot of fun. I don't do anything while we're here in Phoenix now. I mean, I'll see friends occasionally, but I was going out 3, 4, 5 times a night with beautiful women, and spending a fortune on
3 or 4 times a night.
Sorry. No, I never did that. 3 or 4 times a week.
They have pills for that.
Yeah. Thanks for catching that. But now, I made the decision to be exclusive with Natasha, and we're working on trying to get her to the United States right now. It's worth it, but she's the only person I've ever met in my life that I would have thought I would give up that fun I was having to focus on her.
All right. Well, you've been on the show a long time. Give us, and you have a lot of fans. Give us a quick little update on that situation.
We got our fiancé visa in process around November 1st. We submitted it to the Los Angeles office. There's 6 or 7 offices around the U.S. that review these K-1 visa applications. It depends on which office you apply to, determines the length of time it's going to take to get an answer. We applied to Los Angeles because it had the shortest average reply time. And the statistic they give is it's 70% of all applications are processed within 8 months in LA. Okay. That doesn't mean it's approved, but it's processed. Some of the other offices in Vermont and Maryland were 33, 36 months. I don't know.
Which is absolutely insane.
Why would anybody apply there? I don't know.
Is it that backed up that they just short of personnel? I mean,
who knows?
Lazy?
Maybe a combination of the above. And there is a limit on how many they accept each year, so they can be kind of choosy. And there's no guarantee that we're going to get one. It's difficult for a Russian now, for good reason, to get a visa to the United States. So we continue to see each other as frequently as we can, every 6 weeks, give or take, sometimes less. And it's taken me to really exotic places all around the world where Russians can go without a visa.
Like South Africa?
South Africa, Turkey, Armenia, Republic of Georgia, Moldova. However, next week, I'm leaving for 12 days in the Dominican Republic with her.
Really?
Yeah, and that is a country that a Russian can go to without a visa. And they have nice resorts. It's popular in the Punta Cana area and whatnot. Beautiful resorts. But this will be the first time that she's ever been in our hemisphere since we've been together. She went to Cuba with a guy she was dating back in the day. One time. That's the only time she's been in the Western Hemisphere. But then we've already got our next meeting planned at the end of March. We're going to go to Dubai for 2 weeks.
Oh, nice.
And it's really interesting because, Lily knows this. I'm more of a medieval history and architecture kind of guy. I like Europe. I like looking at the old cities and the old buildings and learning about the history. I'm not a 21st century modern spaceship city with beaches where all the rich and beautiful people hang out kind of guy. I never really had any interest in going to Dubai before. Now, since I know Natasha, I'm excited as hell.
Have you been before?
I have not, but she has.
Oh, you'll have to report back because I'm very curious.
She knows that scene quite well. She's been there, other men have taken her there back in the day. But I'm actually downright excited to go see Dubai. And I never thought those words would come out of my mouth.
Well, you're going to get to see it with somebody that you enjoy being around,
yeah, exactly.
Which is a whole different experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But to kind of finalize the answer to where we are on this, 8 months would be sometime this summer, like July, August, if we fall in that 70% and not the 30% that takes longer. It's not inconceivable that she could get her interview in Warsaw. She has to leave Russia because we have no diplomatic relations with Russia now. There's no consul, no American consul there. So she has to apply for a Schengen visa to get to Poland. But she can't fly directly to Poland. She'll have to fly, to Spain or France or somewhere else and then take a plane from there to Warsaw to go to this interview that will be the final box to check in this whole process. And
wow.
So
what a process.
Well, yeah. And then if she does get here, let me be positive, when she gets here,
manifest it.
We've got 90 days to get married.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. The TV show,
just like the TV
90
show.
90 Day Fiance. That's where that comes from.
I love that show.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah. Those people didn't have the long-standing relationship we've had in most cases, which adds to a lot of the drama of the show. But
how long have you guys been dating now?
Since April.
Okay. So how many months is that?
It's about...
Well, we're coming up
It's almost a year.
Almost 10 months.
Yeah, 10 months.
Yeah, 10 months.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're listening to Secrets of a Sugar Daddy. Now back to the show with your host, Marcus.
All right, Jay, what else do you have on your list?
So one pro tip, not to digress, but the one pro tip I thought of that would make it a lot easier for the sugar babies is that you can offer little small gifts of appreciation. I mean, I've had sugar babies give me like a nice little coffee mug, bake me these cookies, and those things cost like nothing. And oftentimes this girl, she just cooked it herself, baked it herself, but it makes the man feel cared for. And the man, assuming he's a good guy, would want to reciprocate. And when the man does reciprocate, it is going to be like 50-fold for the girl. So it's a little bit of investment that would pay massive dividends for you. Because like Podcast Fanboy said, you don't want somebody who's just going to like suck everything out, suck you dry, but not offer anything in return. No sugar daddy is going to expect a 50-50 financial. No, that's not why he's there. But he does want to feel that he's cared for, that his contribution matters to this girl. So therefore, when he notices that, he's going to want to put his best foot forward in terms of showing that he's a good provider and he's a good partner as well. So just little small gifts here or there, especially things that are personally important to him. Let's say like a painting of his dog, which one of the sugar babies did for me, which I really, really appreciate because it showed care. It took time to do it.
Thoughtfulness
Is
Yeah, there
huge.
was this thoughtful thing that this girl did for me was we were at a bar. We were at the Beverly, the famous Beverly, Sugar Daddy bar here in Scottsdale. And this comedian who was quite inebriated came up to us and started talking to us, and we got to know him. Anyway, then we saw him on The Tonight Show just recently because his house burnt down in the California.
Pete Lee.
Yeah, exactly. Pete Lee. So anyway, we noticed he's coming back to Scottsdale, Phoenix, whatever, to do a show. She bought us tickets to go to the show. And she said, hey, I got us tickets to go see our friend Pete. I'm like, well, that was very nice of you. That was so thoughtful. I mean, it really meant a lot. I thought it was really cool that she actually thought ahead to buy the tickets and plan the date. So
Who is this?
this is, what are we calling her? It's,
Ava? No.
No.
Ava.
This is the only other girl that I've actually gone out with.
Oh, I don't.
I took her to the Luke Bryan concert.
Yeah, I never remember her name.
I don't know what to call her here. We haven't named her. But anyway, it was like, to your point, it was a very thoughtful thing that I didn't even have to plan. I didn't have to purchase. That goes a long way.
That's a great story, but I have to add, you said Pete Lee came up to you?
Yeah, so here's the story. So I met her at Hula's, which is another great place. I love to meet people, sit at the bar, have some Hawaiian ceviche. It's fantastic. So we were sitting there. It was on a Monday night. We shut that place down. I had 3 painkillers, and I've already said 1 puts me under the table. So 3, we were quite lubed up. She had her share of drinks. So we weren't ready to end the night. It was only like 9 o'clock, right? So I said, well, let's just go over to Beverly and have some drinks. So we went over there, packed, because it was industry night.
It's always busy.
And it was so busy. So we're sitting at the Beverly. So like right when you walk in, we got the corner on the bar, which I actually love a corner seat. When you're on a date, I think the corner seats are the best because she's kind of facing you. You're kind of facing that. You don't have to yell. You're kind of facing each other. The bartender's right there. You get good service. So we're just sitting there having a great chat. And this guy and his agent walked up. Well, I didn't know it was his agent at the time, right? So he's ordering a drink, and he starts talking to us. I didn't know who he was from Adam. And he told us he was a comedian, and, he was flying back to LA, and he's telling about his ex-wife here, and, all this. He was so near, and he was not funny at all. He's talking and talking and talking, and we're just like, God, this guy is so annoying. But we liked him, right? But he just was not funny. And then I went to his Instagram page, so then he goes like, hey, how'd you meet this girl? She's beautiful, blah, blah, blah. I was like, well, I have an Instagram page if you want to follow me. He goes, okay, yeah, I'll follow you and you can follow me. So we exchanged Instagram, right? He goes, this is you, Secrets of a Sugar Daddy? Well, yeah, he goes, and he's, he thought it was cool. So, and then we would follow him. And then I actually saw some of his stuff that he does, and he's actually funny.
He's really funny.
Yeah, he's really good with improv, audience interaction. Some audience will tell him something and he'll just run with it, right? He's actually really good at that, but not inebriated. He's not very funny. So anyway, we just kind of talk about, some of the stuff we're seeing online. All of a sudden we see him on The Tonight Show. And then he ended up getting like 50 million views off those clips. And then all of a sudden he kind of became famous overnight.
Well, you know what's interesting about him, too?
So-
I've followed him for years. I saw him do a show here, met him in the handshake line afterwards. But I saw him meet his ex-wife, date his ex-wife, get married to his ex-wife, go on a honeymoon with his ex-wife, and they looked so much in love. Of course, what else do you post on social media but the good stuff?
Oh, man.
And then he kind of disappeared for several months. He didn't do any of his posts. And I'm thinking, what the heck happened to Pete? Well, the next time I see him, he's divorced.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell?
Oh, and he told us all about it. I got to hear all about it.
Yeah,
So
that's interesting.
that's interesting. You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, that girl needs a name. Can we call her Madison?
No, that was my sugar baby. That actually the reason I started the show.
Can we call her Allison?
Sure, we'll call her Allison.
Allison. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know her real name. I haven't met her yet, so I
It's
haven't.
you'll bleep this out, but it's
From now on, she's Allison.
okay.
Good.
All right. Oh well, it's already an hour in.
No.
Jay, did we cut you off on anything?
No. I mean,
Okay.
I felt like I wanted to cover like a lot of things I already mentioned. I mean, if there's anything I can think of is that when you're a sugar baby meeting a guy for the first time, it's very important that you have a very positive attitude.
Absolutely, yeah.
And
Love it when they do that.
yeah, it's so important. There have been people that I have met that had a bad attitude and you're just depressed afterwards.
Oh yeah.
You know, and in some ways you kind of have to think of it as a job interview because you're getting paid if that's what you want.
Well-
you know, so therefore it's important that you project a good attitude because that's how the person is going to envision being with you
Exactly.
in the long term. Therefore, assuming that both sides want the long term thing. So it's very, very critical because honestly, all the guys that do it want something that makes their life a little sweeter, a little better. You're offering cues as to what is the experience going to be like with you.
Yeah. And then a word of advice to the men. Just because she's very positive and you're having the time of your life with her, don't fall in love immediately because it is a role.
Of course, the babies would probably love that.
They're like, this girl is absolutely amazing. She's giving me the attention and the sex is great and she's always happy.
Yeah.
All right.
Remember what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You remember
exactly.
That advice goes both ways, though.
absolutely
Yeah.
both ways. But I find that men start falling in love very quickly because they're getting everything they've ever wanted. You cannot know somebody after 1 or 2 or 3 dates, even
No.
5 dates. You don't know that person.
My standard advice applies both ways.
Just enjoy it.
Protect your heart, have fun, but don't go all in with your heart too soon.
That's right. Good advice. Podcast Fanboy, anything else you want to leave us with? Sure, nice seeing you.
It's great seeing you too.
Yeah.
I got to do this again. When I get back from, I don't know, either the DR or Dubai, I'll give you a report on that.
Absolutely. Want to hear all about it.
Yeah.
You still have a lot of fans.
Send us photos. We live vicariously through
Matter of
your
fact,
vacations.
we have a mutual interest. I haven't really talked to you about it, but I met this girl. She goes by Eva.
Yes. Yeah, that was who introduced me to the podcast in the first place.
Well, no.
Oh, is that a different one?
No. So this girl was friends with the girl that introduced you to the podcast.
But that girl went by Eva.
Eve.
Or-
She went by
Eve.
Eve.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Eve,
know.
sorry,
But
you're
this girl
okay.
goes by Eva. So it's
Eva
close.
and Eve. Okay.
But anyway, I meet her. We had a great first date, first interaction. Absolutely fantastic. I told her a little bit about Alejandra. She was excited to meet her. So I set up a second date where we all three went out. Well, Alejandra's claimed her now.
Really?
Yeah. So I've got to you took her away from me.
Yeah, she's
She
not,
cock blocked you, sir.
Yeah.
she's not the blonde with the Greek name?
No.
Okay,
No,
different.
it's,
No,
it's
so-
her friend, right?
So the girl that introduced you to the podcast, she was her very first friend when she came to Arizona.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I met Eve's very first friend when she came to Arizona.
Eva.
Eva.
Eve's Eva,
Yeah. And it's just a small world how it all comes together.
I'm sure I've seen her because I follow Eve on social media.
Yeah.
So I'm sure she's posted pictures of
Yeah,
Eva.
I'll show you after
Yeah,
we're
do.
done. But absolutely gorgeous girl, super nice, sweet as can be. Lily's met her now
Yeah,
2 or 3
she's awesome.
times. She just fit right into our whole family. It's absolutely amazing. But it's just so odd that her best, her friend, when Eve first moved here from think it was. Yeah. She's like, yeah, she was my friend, and then she introduced Podcast Fanboy to the show, and here we are.
Yeah,
all good friends. All right, well, I love it. If you guys want to share your sugar dating stories, the crazy ones, or even the calm ones, or if you just have advice, we'd love to hear it. Go to our website, secretsofasugardaddy.com. Patreon is a great way to share it with us. Instagram. Lily gets all those messages.
Yeah. Let me put this out there because we have a lot of listeners who say they'd love to tell their stories, but they, for various reasons, don't want to actually guest on the podcast. Well, one of our friends that came to Sugarpalooza 4 or 5, I'm not sure, started just sending me voice memos or texting me stories. So we can share your story for you if you have something you think would be of interest to our listeners. Just email us or text us or whatever.
Yeah, we have lots of ways.
Get a hold of us. We'll share your stories.
Yeah, but we like hearing them because we like to know what's going on out there. What are your situations? What are your challenges? What's working for you? We like to explore the whole gamut. So anyway, Jay, once again, thanks for coming in. Always a pleasure. Podcast Fanboy, we will talk to you guys soon.
Absolutely.
All right, bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us. If you'd like to connect or even be on the show, we'd love to hear from you at secretsofasugardaddy.com.